and today we are going to be doing something outside my comfort zone, and that is making cookies, but not just any cookies, Halloween Cookie Burrs. A little background on the challenge today is Nenna-chan actually designed several cookie burrs for us to make, and I've actually not been very good with cookies, so I'm going to try to see if I can make these designs that she made into real cookies. If so, then maybe I'll try this again. If not, we will see what happens. So let's get started and see how this goes. So my first attempt at these cookies was actually using the pre-made sugar cookie mix from Pillsbury Doughboy. So I thought that I'd be able just to use this, be able to flour the table and roll it and then use it for my cookie cutting. But I soon realized that it didn't work. Like, it stuck to the pin, and whenever I was able to cut something into the dough, it was very flimsy and it just broke apart. So Pillsbury Doughboy was a fail, so I decided to actually make these cookies from scratch. So let's get to that. The recipe I followed is linked below in the description. It required a cup of butter and a cup of sugar, and we mixed it together for 2 minutes. And you do have to mix it at a high speed in order to cream together the sugar and the butter. And once it's fully mixed in, you add the next part of the ingredients. We add 1 egg and a half a teaspoon of salt, then a teaspoon of baking powder, followed by a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And once you do that, you mix it in together for about 2 minutes, and you watch it swoosh, 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 swoosh. And then once it's all blended in, you put in 3 cups of flour and you mix it in some more until it's nice and crumbly. You now need to use your hands. You go in and you lump together the cookie dough and make little balls, and eventually you just want to have 2 balls of cookie dough. And this is very important, and if it's a little dry, make sure to add a teaspoon of water just to kind of moisten it up a little bit more. And now we are going to roll out our cookie dough so we can cut out our shapes. This was the very hard part because I noticed that it was a little dry, so I ended up doing this a few times, and I did end up adding a little bit of water so I could get it very smooth. And at that point I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and cut things. And for the designs, I have the skull burr, the ghost burr, and we also have the other ones, which this one is a pumpkin, and finally we'll have the one that is the bat. But also there is the other shape, which is the spider burr, so we're gonna do that one as well. And these are just cookie cutters that I got out of Amazon, just Halloween themed ones. But the designs we want to do are burr themed. So how are we going to make these current ones into burr themes? I actually really pondered that for a long time. So I came up with trying to make Franken-burr cookies. So basically, we're going to add ears, bear ears, to several of these designs, and well, actually all of them, and to kind of make really cool cookies. So I'm cutting out ears using a icing tip, and now I'm just like moving them around and just removing the excess dough so that I can actually have a semi-clean surface here to work with. The flowers just will stay there because we're going to use more of it as we continue with my experimentation. So it took a little bit of work because, it was still a little rough around the edges, and I don't know if it was my mixture or I'm just not really pro when it comes to cookies. So now that, the cookies are done, I'm going to use the same icing tip that I used to make the ears to make little bear marks, indentation, into each of these cookies, and then just kind of including the ears into the design. And what you want to do is that for those edges, you want to press it together, like the edge that is actually combined to it, so that you're basically quote unquote gluing the shapes together, and that's very important to do so that you can retain these really cool shapes that you're making. I know for one of them it did kind of come out in the oven, but you know, it happens. Just make sure that you actually press them on, and whenever you transfer them into a parchment paper for baking, make sure that you press it in some more, and then you want to actually add a kind of step between this and actually put your cookies in the freezer for about 10 minutes so they retain their shape when baking. So after we're done here, I move them to a baking sheet and put them in the freezer for 10 minutes and then bake them. These cookies here were my first version, just kind of practice round, so I made a different batch of cookies. And here I am icing these cookies using the wilting cookie icing. And you do want to start a little bit inside the cookie whenever you're doing the outline, and then going through and filling in all of the cookie, and just don't over ice. Just try to use this, you know, as much as necessary for you to cover just all of your little outline. And we just did the one, the bat burr. Now we're doing the one that is going to be spider burr. And it was really cool to do this, but I did notice that all three of the different colors I was using had a different consistency to them. So it was kind of weird trying to do it. And this one was not one of Nenna's designs. This was kind of makeshifting using some of the cookie cutters I had, and it is Wizard Burr. Danbear is a wizard now, and one of the things I wanted to try out using the kind of the sugar, it's not seasoning sugar, but the sugar, I have some purple one, and I poured it all over the icing color and just kind of actually like shook out the excess, and it just looked so cute. And then we did ice the orange one, and for some reason it just seemed like the white one was the hardest to actually pour out. Like, even, you know, fast forward, you see me struggling with this white icing. Like, I don't know what it was about it, that it was, the struggle was definitely real with it. And I just think that Wizard Burr is like one of the most adorable ones ever. And this one that I was trying to ice, and you know, of course I had to mess things up here. I was just trying to make one, but you know, hey, I did go back and then like added more, you know, purple sugar to kind of like blend it in, but you could sort of still see the little spot that I messed up, you know, and drip that white icing on. And this white one is just supposed to be Danbear. I thought it'd be cute to have a Danbear cookie. And it's just like all of these shapes are so adorable, and I'm no pro, but you know, I tried. And you know, they look so cute. And this one is the Skelly Bear, and oh my gosh. Like, looking at them, they're just so adorable, and I couldn't get enough. And the last one I need to do is the Ghost Burr, and thankfully I was smart enough to move it this time, opposed to accidentally, you know, dripping icing on the wrong one, which would suck a lot. There's some different colors that it's really hard to move from. Then I used some more of the colored sugar and poured it on the two black burrs, just because I wanted to add a little bit more texture to them. I think there's probably a different, better way of doing it, but once I put it in, I kind of shook them to try to move the sugar around so it could kind of have good coverage of the cookies, and then I had to throw away all the excess sugar. Of course, I should have just done, you know, saved it back, I guess. And then I went with the icing to go over the cookies for the faces, and I used a toothpick to help me make sure I defined the lines enough. And on this one, I chose to use these googly eyes that are also Wilton. All the stuff we used today was Wilton, apparently. And I tried to make the little tooth for Batbird. It was so adorable. Those eyes just got me. And, you know, I do think that for next time I will make my own cookie icing, just because having a thinner tip would have been great. And for these, you know, having a thinner tip would have been awesome just because for the consistency of the black icing, it was a little runny sometimes and I couldn't get the fine lines that I really wanted out of it. So that's why, you know, the toothpick really came in handy. Of course, you know, there's the times that you mess up. But, you know, actually the toothpick helped me make the little skeleton nose and just make sure that they had this shape that I needed. Or like if one eye looked a little bit bigger than the other, it allowed me to kind of go in and fix things. Then we have Goose Burr. This one was an easier one just because, you know, of its shape. But the eyes did seem a little bit off, so I had to go in with the toothpick to make sure I like fix them up. And of course the nose. This one was just supposed to be Danbear, so you know, drew him and drew his little mouth and tried to make it look like a little cute little smirk because he's so adorable. And last but not least was the pumpkin, and this one I just wanted to make it seem like it had little stripes, and then I googly eyes, of course. It was so much fun trying to do these cookie burr designs and trying to take one of Nenna-chan's drawings and making them into cookies. It was definitely a very big challenge for me because I've been, you know, in the safe zone when it came to my baking, and this definitely took me outside of my comfort zone and do something I've never really done before because I'm not a big cookie person. So this was definitely like really cool to do, and I hope you enjoyed all of the designs. So you can see the adorableness of these burrs. Like, I'm so obsessed. I mean, there was of course some fails here and there of, you know, what happened, and, you know, I learned from this experience, and I hope, you know, you seeing me do this inspired you to get out of your comfort zone. And let me know in the comments below, what did you enjoy about this video? What didn't you enjoy as much? And also, what would you like me and Danbear to try to make next? So thank you so very much for watching, peeps. I appreciate y'all so very much. I hope you have a very happy Halloween and, you know, trick or treat. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, meow meow.